This is Classic FM.
Nicola, great pleasure to talk to you. Thank you so much for coming
you.
in. Quite a year for you.
I would agree, yeah.
I mean, Classic Brits, you are now the most nominated female artist in the Classic Brits, and you won an award, a couple of months ago?
Yes, I did. Yes, that was a really, really lovely evening.
And that's not the only award this year, the Tartan Clef Award. Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, that was for Nordoff Robbins. It's sort of our Scottish version of the Silver Clef Awards. Nordoff Robbins I've known about, since I was at school. I remember watching a video of the work the music therapists do in schools, and that absolutely stuck with me. And I actually went to the first Tartan Clef Awards years and years ago. I've just followed the work they do. I mean, they deserve every penny and every bit of support, and that they need it because it's vital.
And you are passionate about education, arts and education. And you recently signed a letter to the Times, didn't you, with some very distinguished knights of the realm like Sir Colin Davis, Sir Simon Rattle, Sir Mark Elder. Tell me exactly what it is that you want to see done that's not being done now.
Well, there are a lot of things that we would like to see done that are not being done, but at the moment it's more focused on stopping what's there being cut. And that seems to be the most desperate fight that we have on our hands, because unfortunately the already unprioritized music education within schools is being cut and diminished and pushed to the side and even more sort of marginalized. It's being seen as something that is just a fluffy, nice extra, as opposed to an absolutely vital key part of any child's education, and probably the most important lesson and tool in allowing children to be comfortable with themselves, to be confident, to understand whatever their creativity is, whether it be creativity channeled into science, maths or music or arts. I think the fundamentals of why it is important to have the arts and creativity in schools is just absolutely misunderstood, and yeah, it's frightening. It's frightening how misunderstood.
And your particular talent, I mean, was it recognised very early, and did you receive a lot of encouragement at school?
Yes, I've received a lot of encouragement at school, although I have to say my parents, I mean, these things were not told to me when I was 9 years old, but they were definitely told to my mother, that, comments like, well, she could, I mean, obviously I happened to get good grades at school, so there were a lot of people saying, she could go on to be a lawyer or a doctor or something else. Why would you waste this brain on something like music? So then there were the same, and that was 15 years ago. So that would have been at a time when there were still a lot of freedoms within schools to give children the option of music education. It was less secluded then than it is now.
Okay, tell me about your new release. I have to tell you, it was my album of the week a little while ago, Silver Violin.
Thank you very much.
What made you turn to music from the silver screen?
Well, it was down to Korngold. It's all his fault, really. I mean, I fell in love with Korngold.
Not such a well-known name.
Not really, no. I fell in love with that concerto through receiving a gift of the Heifetz box set, which is, I think it's a few hundred CDs. It's hours and hours of recording anyway. And I actually sort of targeted out of that box set discs of repertoire that I didn't know, and the Korngold Concerto was one of the first ones I began to listen to.
And he is seen as the father almost of film music, isn't he?
Yes.
He's one of the first to write.
Korngold, you mean?
Korngold,
Heifetz, right?
no, not Heifetz. Korngold, yes.
No, absolutely. I mean, I would say a lot of most composers would say. I mean, you often hear people say, "Oh, well, film. Yeah, his music sounds a bit like film music." No, film music sounds a bit like his music. He really set set so many basics that I think film composers have taken from ever since. So I thought, both from a musical standpoint, but also from a personal standpoint, there is so much about his life that lends itself to so many different genres, different people, and different concepts. And for me, the strongest one was to grasp the chance to broaden and to link his music with today's film music. I think.
I mean, your previous release was what? It was the Mendelssohn and the Tchaikovsky. I mean, standard repertoire. And now you've gone to something completely different. And it's proved hugely popular, isn't it? Right at the top of the charts.
Yeah, it has been popular, which is great. And I think that the concept is so strong. It was one that I thought about for such a long time and sort of agonized over for such a long time that I feel it has so much musical substance to it. I mean, the concerto itself is such a fantastic piece, but also to record the two arias, one of which Korngold arranged himself for violin and piano, and then to bring out things like the Mahler string quartet, the Mahler piano quartet, which was featured in the film Shutter Island, Scorsese film. To have that, he was the one that proclaimed Korngold as a genius at the age of 13. It was one of his mentors, really. So to go from that end of the scale to something like Schindler's List, which I think very poignantly does represent a huge part of Korngold's life and his story, to have moved to Hollywood and have his life saved by Hollywood. So.
Yeah. Now, you have a busy new year coming up. I know you're on tour again, but before that,
Yes.
are you going to get a little time off over Christmas?
I've never worked so hard and consistently in my whole life. I mean, I really have had just a full touring schedule. But on top of that, there's all the master classes that I'm giving and all the work with Systema Scotland and promotion stuff, but it's been such an exciting time. I do have a little bit of time over Christmas before setting off again in January. I'm really looking forward to it. I'm going to be with my family, with my boyfriend. I'm going to just be living a quiet life for a
Before you
bit.
far off across the Atlantic in the new year.
Yeah, I'm starting in the States and then have a sort of a lengthy tour in Southeast Asia. So it's exciting. It's exciting. It's really, I couldn't ask for more.
Well, if I could just say, I mean, how do we attract young people to classical music? Through people like you.
Oh, thank you. Well, I'm trying my best.
Blushing hard. Nicola, great pleasure talking to you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.